ladies and gentlemen. This is the big man Boisterous coming to you with some Platinum League Pandemonium out of the Tal'Darim altar. Up here in the top right hand corner we have SliK as the red Zerg, and down here in the bottom left hand corner we have his opponent Protokol, the blue Protoss. As this game starts off, I would just like to note that I am trying to make this video a bit shorter because I don't want to have a 15-minute part 1 and then a 2-minute part 2, so I am going to have it sped up for a little while. Don't worry, I'm going to slow it down before any of the action happens, so you guys aren't going to miss anything. But, and also, if you guys hear random construction noises, there are random construction noises going on right now, but I just wanted to make sure that I got this video out to you guys today, so that's what's going to go down. Also, if you guys want to watch me live, if you guys want to see me live casting, I'm probably going to be live casting the Tuesdaily every once in a while from now on, and maybe even the Fridayly, which is coming up on Friday. But you can sign up to both of these tournaments and see more details about the tournaments and their times at SliK.com, which is Z33K.com. I think that the one that I did yesterday, the Tuesdaily, that is currently up in the archives. If you guys want to check it out on Twitch TV, it should be pre-recorded. It was a cast that I actually did with one of my clan mates, Pyronia. For Protokol, we do have a Forge Fast Expand, which was a Nexus first Forge Fast Expand, actually. And we do have SliK coming out with a Hatchery first, so both of them playing fairly standard games for cross spawns on Tal'Darim altar, because really fast expanding is the only way you can do that. There's not a whole lot of pressure you can put on in cross spawns. It does look like Protokol is stockpiling Chrono Boost. Wow, that is 100 Chrono Boost 5 minutes into the game. That's not good. We do have SliK, who is actually, I forgot to make a point of this at the beginning of the game, this is actually the first person that I casted a replay from, but I figured that he deserved me to cast another one, because the first one that I casted to him was just a random replay that I found in SC2 Replayed, and, you know, I think I owed it to him, since he was, you know, a good sport about being the first person that I cast, and he did get an email into me, and he noticed that he was in that first Platinum League Pandemonium game, which is kind of interesting to have the first guy that you casted send you a game to cast. It does look like constant probe production has ended for Protokol, which is interesting because he does not have nearly enough probes yet. He has 8 at his natural. He's at 25 at his main though, so his main is actually fully saturated. And again, I am sorry for the hammering, but I kind of need to get the video done right now. I couldn't wait for this construction stuff to end yet. So we do have SliK moving into clear out his third of destructible rocks. I am gonna slow the video down a little bit here, just to let you know. I should be well under the 15-minute mark at this point. We did have SliK go for a reasonably fast layer and a reasonably fast spire, both of them up before 10 minutes. So we are probably going to see some Mutalisk heavy play. I think he already actually is getting ready to produce some Mutalisks. He has +1 air weapons on the way. It does look like he went for a double Evo chamber too, so it's going to be very gas light. I think his main army, it's going to be primarily composed of Zerglings with some Mutalisks in the background, good to go. So I think the Mutalisks are going to be mainly there for harassment. There's not going to be a whole lot else they can do, especially considering the fact that it looks like we're going to have some Stalker heavy play coming out of Protokol. He is actually going for an Immortal, 2 Immortals, which is interesting against the Zerg opponent, because Immortals are only really there in case you get rushed by something like Roaches, because other than that, there aren't a whole lot of Zerg units that Immortals are useful against. He did go for a robotics base, so I'm surprised he's not just canceling these Immortals and switching right over to them to those Colossi, because if he needs the Colossi to help him clean up these Ling numbers, because if these Lings manage to get a full surround on his Stalkers, it's going to be game over for Protokol. Plus the fact is that this is actually a game that was before 1.4, that, you know, Immortals don't have their range yet, the Immortals aren't going to be nearly as good. And I really hope that hammering is not too loud. SliK is stockpiling up a reasonable amount of gas, actually. I'm surprised that he's not spending that on more Mutalisks. Mulisks. He is getting in an infestation pit, so I'm wondering if he's just going to be if he's actually going to be going for Ling Infestor Muto, which is a strategy that you don't see a whole lot of. Usually it's like Ling Roach Infestor or Roach Hydro Infestor or just Roach Infestor. Or like Broodlord Infestor. I think if I see some Broodlord Infestor play, that's probably one of my favorite plays in the game. It does look like we have the Hive coming up, and he's building a lot of drones to really quickly saturate his third 14 drones coming out. I think that Protokol has finally finished off saturating both his main and his natural. He's going for a really heavy photon cannon count, so he's really afraid of these Mulisks popping in and dealing some damage, which is surprising because he hasn't really seen that many Mulisks yet. So I think these 3 cannons are a bit of an overcommitment. It looks like he's also going to be putting up cannons behind this mineral line. That's why there's 2 pylons here. But we do have a fairly Colossus and Immortal heavy army here. I mean, he only has 7 stalkers with his main army. So if SliK can manage to flood with enough Mulisks, he's going to be able to take this out easy peasy. And if he manages to get those stalkers down and take out those Colossi, it's going to be game over, because then he can just run Lings and he'll be perfectly fine. SliK is going for a Baneling Nest, which is a very nice choice against such a stalker-heavy army, because especially if you're going for something like Mulisks, because Mulisks can't really fight stalkers directly, but if you have those Banelings to wipe out the stalker numbers, then the stalkers are just going to have then the Colossi are going to have no buffer from the Mulisks, and the Mulisks can just absolutely tear apart Colossi. We do have Protokol looking like he's gearing up to take a third. I'm surprised he actually hasn't yet. This is a reasonably late third coming out of Protoss, even against such a harassment-heavy Zerg player. It does look like the Zerg is actually not springing for Greater Spiner. It doesn't look like he's going to, because he has Flying Carapace level 1 queued up, actually. He has level 2 weapons and armor for ground coming up, level 2 weapons for air coming up, adrenal glands coming up. So these Zerglings are about to get a lot scarier. As soon as these 2 upgrades finish and adrenal glands finishes, it's going to be a frightening army. It does look like Protoss is going for weapons instead of armor, which is something I really don't agree with against such like Mutalisk and Zergling heavy play, because the armor just scales so well versus Zerglings because there's just so many of them. So if all of these Zerglings, instead of doing 7 damage, do 6 or 5 damage, it's a lot easier to handle as a Protoss player. And these Mutalisks, even though they hit fairly hard with 11 on their first hit, as those hits scale down and go to like 8 and 5, I think the numbers are, it's just the weapon, it affects every bounce. So instead of going 11, 9, 5, it'll go like 9, 7, 3, which is a much easier to handle attack. It does look like these Mulisks are overcommitting a bit. I don't think they're going to lose any. Oh, that was actually a reasonable blink, sniping off 3 Mulisks. I think if he had blinked in earlier, he would have gotten way more, though. Possibly even 4. We do have level 3's flyer weapons, level 3 ground carapace, and level 3 melee attack for our Zerg coming up, and that's going to be devastating against this army, especially if he manages to morph in some Banelings and just roll them into his opponent with level 3 weapons upgraded. Those Banelings will just wipe out all of the stalkers. It does look like our Protoss is finally springing for ground armor, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He needs to be chrono boosting these upgrades out fast at this point. I'm also surprised that he's going for such a heavy Colossus play against an army that's just so weak, like the Zerglings and the Mutalisks. Colossi aren't really quite in their zone. You really want those High Templar for the storms, because if you can storm a pack of Zerglings, it'll wipe out the Zerglings. Like, the Zerglings will legitimately just die to half a storm. And if you can storm some Banelings that are rolling in, it'll be even worse. It does look like these Banelings are going to roll in, and are they going to hit on the Stalkers? Oh my god. He is destroying those Stalkers numbers with those Banelings. And that is awful, awful news for Protokol. And I think in that one engagement, he just completely lost this game. Man, that was awful damage done to Protokol right there. Quite a beautiful play by SliK there. I think it was prudent of him to send his Zerglings out to kind of just try to draw out some of those force fields and try to see if he could get those force fields out before he rolled those Banelings in, because if those force fields were too good, I think he could have just held back on his Banelings until the Colossi ran over the force fields, and as it turns out, those force fields weren't that great for fighting off Banelings. They were pretty good for fighting off the Zerglings. It gave the Stalkers a very good angle on the Zerglings, but they just were not good for the Banelings. It does look like we're going to have the 3-0 Mutalisks rolling in. And these Mutalisks are just going to be able to absolutely decimate the worker line. I'm surprised he's not just going for killing these photon cannons. I think that with this many Mutalisks, he could just one-shot all of those cannons just down the line. He does have a very large Zergling army that just came back up. He has 3 more Mutalisks waiting, and he has 15 Mutalisks on the way. I think that that's going to be a good game for Protoss as soon as those Mutalisks sweep in. Protoss he needs the 3rd base to deal with this. Zerg just got his 4th up in a 2-base Protoss against a 4-base Zerg. That has insane map control. It's not going to happen. Especially if the Protoss isn't even going for any sort of insane desperation play like Dark Templars or something like that. I think these Mutalisks are just going to be able to quite easily wipe them out, especially with all of these Mutalisk reinforcements coming in. We have 3 there, 3 there, 6 there. Yeah, as soon as all these Mutalisks get hotkeyed onto one key, and they can just sweep in and start sniping Nexuses. Because this many 3-3 Mutalisks are going to be doing a ridiculous amount of damage to buildings. It looks like he's finally getting his air armor, but I don't think it really matters at this point. His weapons are just way too good for air. I think he could actually engage the Stalker army head on and get away fine with it. The Stalkers would do a reasonable amount of damage to the Mutalisks, but I just don't think it would be enough. He did actually lose 2 Mutalisks there, but he just has way too many on the way. And the giant Ling Ball is still here. It's still 3-3. It still has adrenal glands and speed. It's not going to be pretty, and this Nexus is going to go down. Wow, he just 5-shotted that Nexus with this Mutalisk Ball, and that's a testament to how much damage these Mutalisks do once you have them 3-3 up, once you have them 3-0 upgraded, and you have 32 of them. They will just start crushing Nexuses, and oh my god, if he gets this Nexus, Protokol isn't gonna have enough money to re-expand. It's just gonna be game, just by the fact that it started off. And there we go, Protokol leaves the game, and he's another Protoss that doesn't GG either end. Man, what is up with Protoss not mannering? Anyway, guys, I'm going to try to get out of this game as fast as possible because I'm trying to keep it under 15 minutes. So if you guys want your replays casted, I'm looking for them for any skill leagues, from any skill level. So whether you're a Bronze League Badass or a Gosu Grandmaster, send them on in. You can send them into boisteroussc2@gmail.com. All of the other important information for me is going to be in the video description for this. And until next time, guys, this is Boisterous signing out.